Ebusia asem no enya agita asem no enya agita de adiaba and it's justice number 2 Edima Yemame Akosua Serwaa finally Lawyer William Kusi wono enya konya kasa no na ye lawyer Edima Yemame Akosua Serwaa na botaya Yemame ebepie o man Ghana mu ano ene lawyer Kusi enya konya edimu nchiremu ediaba so far appeal court no ebenya konya baso anase entimi emaso lawyer no achirichirima yenya konya etimi dia blow Yemame ewa pro ewo Kumasi a enei ukohwe de ekoso ewo Kumasi a na esweni ohwe mu se enedie wodi obi aseda ede bema no mame first story enfantum se papa shi wasi eye no hwiebe yankopon yadoma match todwa na yenya konya ne nkotie lawyer William Kusi wono na Yemame Akosua Serwaa lawyer yenkotie no nkomo watimi ede ejaye no don't forget so be subscribe channel no ediama na channel timi egro
bro yen chi na ehun se o client yi walande na omuhia no airport na baby fe na ye bi tan enura ne nekura de kote kura ne se wo ba Kumasi airport na nkrofo nim so be fo aeroplane mini so na tu nifo a ma ne fa car eti na obedu Kumasi na o se ohun se ne nkrofo je o se o sanfa fm de eko airport no asemi me some ye mudi de say from ne bisam na mo kire yen because na me tie me nua akwashi opon ya morning show issue sa branch ya show branch ya won suma ma no kogina ba bi mo ntim poda obeba be ka asem se do hu ni pepepe na nti e no kora maame no wo de ka na free and crime e bai Kumasi no hu say na chitafo wo prempe the first airport 20 no ko hwa na wadaro mu makeka bom ye okuna ye kura wa ama e de ne ma ne bai de botai o de bai ne se
about holidays or bafie asanko into ba na just say amanye bi also ye was in Ghana no also koto or lawyer wa ha about also besra me senkrata bu ha ye be shumani ahwem afuto bi a meje free no in terms of facts. I'm so legal advise them when I'm some their man. And that is exactly what she came to do. So far, so good. Do Accra almost of Kosram. About Kumasi or church and penny for especially woman Jinamano, a brand new Ghana. No. So we are in Kratabi or so ye be a make sure so I answer no. But we are was uncle near to Juma, so I pin it a good super high young Juma. Once a process, and you know, the years of best in some, I have not seen sense no. Do Yakojina Mamma, sanity.
I wish I for any Oba Penny Akosua Serwaa, the late icon Daddy Lumba, Naire, and I near penny and an airborne commoner. Now, Oren Munyam for Lawyer William Kusi, Kofa by Kofa Dominion Chambers by the client, and now. Oba wo kuma no na wodi nanim amamra atoto ne manyina yi amano no the late Daddy Lumba na yere ene ne ebon komo no lawyer wadawruma meyi adesua a wasua si nchen a with all due respect fa cheme menim se wo akani ede na si wo kwan se obetu oba yi fo se omra maye okuna yi ni bi na mpo daachi bia no sin se ayi na chi no na fe no oba na nkrofo chihira no ade ama otim se obetunu se omra na afi ya bibia wi na ana what dey nya wasam
No sir, you share circumstances now the year na she couldn't have come because a day before the year there was an application before the court na abusuafo no seeking to restrain the court from moving ahead the head of family from moving ahead to perform the funeral. And she had that information, and we knew the circumstances, the facts before the court, the baby a court may grant him. Because at the time, no, there was a fire application. I call police headquarters. Omo person who they said buy Lumba free moon, which was a criminal matter. And the police actually almost can complain no more young juma. And I was surprised. I was not surprised when initially it came to court not grant application. No? Because Obia who have covered here, a couldn't obey see about the national investigations. So I was more surprised when we had the judge in Asanfre, the lawyers involved, some of them years of no proof.
Now, lawyer, I want to own him. Now, me pay a emranim ni bi te say mumubi ebeka court asem na ya yen fatam ya bisa because me gina fidie so ye adwuma matiefo etie me bedi madanse say ye di nkomo no an ehunu say abusua no say omo empene so nti say ni na court nye e na court bu ya ye say di abusua ne kan modu ni say nti won ma mutumi eti ye de yesese ye ne ma afidie so akono ye beti ne say court say Emma okra ye frelma ekoba se e wo se court san si enkonya foforo na emum enya court dem wo se de o kan asem foforo no e ba to minim kwa mu fasa mudi mu nsem na fa na mudi asem a edimu na yin na motra enimu
it was a strange occurrence adia yenye court chini say court ma order bisa so a fontus official which is his official capacity to pronounce on the matter and has been taken away from him. So this will be the application number or an appeal. It sounded impossible for a court to recall the parties involved. Where is his jurisdiction? The best phrase will be for application, but to lawyer near the application. How did they send the application? It was, and to me, it was one of the darkest days in our legal life. Say, court beat my answer, but whatever it is, now send it here. The time was so short for anybody to file an application. Say, the court near Nyamra because I guess you know, and do file here. Before I best file na adiachi. Near several. There been several process. No. And until now, see if you taken good faith near ma and near my cost so send a bear mistake go maybe to my correcting later. And that is what happened. A strange appearance. Where the judge's opinion, the procedure was wrong. So we have situation where the judge opines like they see Kumasi during the argument, no. Correct. You can go on appeal and challenge his decision. But where the it's unheard of. But it happened though, and I'm happy that it has gone in the records. Say ABC or Ghana. How many years you had the law school?
Pepi ni yakasa o kan wasem no kakra wi a now the education tato minim ase sabi the oti ho a odi asem no ba no oye emranim ni a wasua de se de wasua de no na de ne sabi with all due respect the common sense be kan ho eti wo common sense na de kan ho na ene ne de na anye pa nka be ha
emranim common sense. What do I say? Yeah, very common sense in Muyamra. Yes, I can coffee. Between me white, ammonia experience will be as often common sense. Then go apply. We just work law school. You title. You did kind of court district court. Not about circuit. And not about high court. All these things is to train your mind to make legal decisions. And do the common sense could be as a more high court. I said, what?
As I'm Emra.
You may not like it, but that is the law. You have to apply it as it is. And that is why we are challenging the decision.
Nice one. Our client, apart from holidays or buy, or adwenfo fro bi fa okunu wo ne ho ne anamon bi a wo sere wo ma odi na manu 2 year wo court no ho ana
oni adwenfo bi oba fie besra abusia mekura na mene ni nhia ya kasa ofon so to obedo nsa betum nsayem adofo ba so se na Ghana fo si don It tells you that Ghanaians disagree with the decision of the court. Ghanaians disagree with the decision of the court.
Nipa ne question airport one na ma dwayam kesene na.
Of course. No, don't bring me back and talk about that.
Nipa wo omko shia maami wo airport one. Ene wo mo ba yi no wa quantify ahwe.
I'm a quantify.
There in a dozen.
The funeral, let me tell you about the relative term of the numbers. In fact, numbers, no, but that is even a lighter side of it. Because with himself, Akosua Serwaa's arrival in Ghana was uncertain. And they took just a few hours to organize those people we saw at the airport. And the advertising and a year to the advertising, yeah, big boss. I be kura and so I nipa ma omo free districts in na so mbe bi. What does it? You could see how light the attendees were. So and o compare every fan says Akosua Serwaa na adi so be year. And ka just say ko han Kumasi ba ko be ka ho ansa na aso. Yankum.
Like social media they say they no ye da pass across o hewachi. Cause social media na manipa ye fie nyina just security bia e porous.
No kura. Na me no sura abofo no anya roja de no me so mo sura abofo no obo me ho ban kese pa anti. Amayo ahotoso. Sanya me doye. Unim say Ali Baba. Me file appeal, no, there were threats. My wife was even threatened. Emma pressure, domestic pressure, na minya happy. I'm saying, because that pressure, if it is obvious that we had a bad case, why will anybody threaten anybody? We are standing for justice and we will get it. I'm so confident.
Lawyer, yes, na Papa Shikra, bi enkrofo feel say original certificate now more than a photocopy ko two baby said enkrofo be kan wono. Asem you my card some kuma nimba ho. No kreso the certificate bi aba. Na sa na tia wo be ma kwan ma o mo di akokyere.
Certificate I mean can some tro. In court we usually send the copied ones. They did that. And we got her to send us a certificate. And copies in the court. You now say judges okay. Or the 2 million or so be originals. Ya catch Akosua Serwaa envelope or the mail by na cry. Ya the court. So originals nini. And we were all surprised when the judge says office they are going baby na and your original now. And look, the level of
judge na who say judge na dwen ye ne say enyo original mo koye ne baby
me ayabo apaye ontime nhu say now the document who no doubt is you could see it's not from Ghana
because
your family book
apart from your caliber na we be present here dey bia judge bi be ka say enye no obi akofa free baby na say e o say ebisa ho asem yi pa then pa na be be ntia e ma na adwene be ne say mo koye free baby na enye original
adwene boni.
Angel. Otherwise,
I mean, you know that I no. I impugn my integrity, okay. To suggest that me no go for fake documents about court. What for? What am I going to gain from it? Because I know sincerely that the parties, the lawyers on the other side knew it was genuine. The judge herself knew it. Now, what's your judgment? Judge, initial stages of the judgment will say evidence will say or ordinance marriage certificate from Germany. They are only second one, and until the document cannot be original. Otherwise, it wouldn't sit with her decision. And I want to make an answer. I say, "Hey, Ben Amibu."
Clay.
Exactly. If she has to decide against us, then she has to say that the certificate was fake. Otherwise, there was no window for her to decide that both of them were wives. And on a lighter side, she has always sought to explain that she she met them in the middle and then promoted peace. You get the point? And she, in the attempt to promote peace, she has to say our certificate was fake. My certificate, I can tell on authority, it wasn't fake. It was the original certificate from Germany. So,
wow. Lawyer, that's it. Now, what are my Ajuma Ekurawi? Abushia, SCA that Lumba, Mamre Quanshwe, appear in Hobby here. Now,
oh, in fact, Osha in Krata, medical quarter, and you're from the medical quarter. May seeking for injunction because we saw a rush to bury the body when we were talking about who is a wife and who can perform. These were the two things that the court had to address as far as we are concerned. If you don't can really from a bushia for Nigeria file process, if you they want to do a postmortem. And that the bushia is not even the rightful person to conduct the funeral. I know Yabusian they had their lawyer. Maybe the status of Akosua Serwaa as a wife is what I was prosecuting. And it is as relevant today as it was when the action was taken, because I've said this, said the disease is cancerous. Also because the cancerous. I tell you, low, my bet spread just say alone, you know. It is very bad for a court to look at the certificate of a country like Germany and say that a fake. Couldn't say in diplomatic circle, that country can also say they won't accept any certificate from Ghana because of that decision. And I will be irresponsible if I sit down for that to happen. And what I can do is to prosecute an appeal, which will probably look at it differently and say that, oh, it was an original certificate. Because German certificate, social media, people were posting theirs. There were no signatures of the parties on the certificate. And it will conclude that because the Akosua Serwaa about the certificate signature no akojibi, the almost sign. Everything we said was true, except that they had to refuse it in order that they can create peace in court. But it is child knowledge to be worried under German, won't be worried second wife. I don't know. I ABC. So to succeed in doing that, they have to say, we couldn't lead evidence to show so our Germany. But Mamma can so one the representative your Dobroni court. No. In his evidence was see Lumba Kachum so worry or Germany. Nadana more worry no. Ye bizarre was saying now I didn't break it down beyond record. One kasi were good no. I break the records are there for people missing Krofonkoji proceedings, especially almost criticizing no. They should look at the proceedings and know exactly what happened. They admitted Lumba had told them on 2 occasions that he was married in Germany. And then Bizarre said, did you look at the certificate of divorce? They didn't. And I'm saying, oh, I'm 419. That's the trend of the cross-examination. That if you knew somebody was married under German law, that's about you have to ask for a decree of divorce. Otherwise, it could happen that the marriage was subsistent. You get the point? So, to me, there was evidence overwhelming. Abusuapenyi says that he wasn't there when they were married, he wasn't there when they were divorcing. To them, although Bruni would necessarily look back at him say, our dinner a good one customer could teach him. And so there was even evidence apart from the issue of certification and all. I say Mranama Kwanso Jitum, even though there was no certification. Until we are confident. And yes, Lumbanani and Bessie, and I ain't be and through Dobroni, but we want the truth. What does it?
Or say, na enye the legend Daddy Lumba, what wono ye see no, and I have one. And no money or Dobroni, so near Sembia, name mum no cray, was nothing but the truth shall set you free. Tino Crana pen.
Ali Baba.
Papa.
When him says we will say put it over some blanket and get in the woman. And we are very sensitive and mindful about that. We are not irresponsible. But you see, marriage is a big institution. Every society marriage be society break it down. Yeah, and Yali Shemra, so called worry, and by a moment to marry second one. We should respect that.
Sure.
Over so worry too, a money hour the old warrior, which is a man boss. I can walk out the year for a bro. Muslims say for I can afford you can marry more than 4 once it is under customary marriage. Why? Who is compelling them to marry under those ordinance laws so that they can marry? Who is compelling them? If you make a choice, you should live by it. You can't get the court to say, I don't respect your certificate because it has not been certified when the facts are quite obvious. And what do we do in court? Justice.
Of course.
The truth is very important. You can't gloss over it. And you see, we refer to the judge, the Supreme Court has several said, the court should not rely on technicalities and for them to defeat justice. It is so when the facts are there, you don't say, when the law has given a caveat, say a certified crana, that's a mreni who we took 8 days to hear a complete case. Ghana, what to be that 8 days at the case that we wanted to cooperate with the judge to come to the end before the funeral, which we did. And you see that we have been quiet about the judgment. Because appealing, he has ever commented too much. We go to the course of appeal. We only come in when people are blaming, trying to blame us. They are perfect work within that short time. The next lawyers, I organ on do 5. The lawyer
I don't know.
Last week, a friend is from Pong. I'm not from Pong.
Yeah, lawyer not from Pong.
Mr. Ona now, social media, so to I am pure. So,
what in the middle?
Because she has told him I'm a classmate.
Okay, just a catch ray.
I'm a classmate.
Law school and basic.
Law school.
Well, okay.
Oh no, I jurisprudence will be called no Makola. Any jurisprudence.
It's not the okay.
To be said, Wawarina or say for 15 years. I mean, and you see the facts he was narrating he was threatening the law because you see they were ordinary resident in Germany or Bani Okunu or Ma Echo School or Majuma or Mufi or and a man no yes or Bagana one I deserted in your wow bag if you have Bagana no. Or Bano to Germany desert. How can anybody even have that level of reasoning? Unless we have anybody. And if the judge says that desert Lumba, I mean, why? 1 + 1 identify for now. Maybe no German nationals. No one from Germany about Ghana. Also, member desert. I dare a logic. But the judge was bold to make all these comments. Instead of saying Lumba deserted the woman, probably that would have been a light better. Oh, Lumba deserted. There was a desertion, but it was Lumba who deserted. Not the other way around. So, but they made all these commentary and people are not cheap.
I need Jim Kwaso, a could be a Lumba Dakaso. Na Yebekin kind, Nipim ne wola. Then you mean come out client Akosua Serwaa me imagine American Rebecca saying Obesa court view there pan a Jeffrey court after weighing nation
Meko court according to no probate
say niema na Lumba bia wa ye wela niema o de ama ubekọ court akoprove okay me say mo lawyers ya na mo ye no kokom mo ne ye no kokom.
So far, we'll be in unity.
Na me can say, Kobase, a chinabia could be so na the all can your clients na, the all can be your client and one. A dear being a cawope. Obepase, best reverse a year view.
But yet the second guys are missing interest were you. What has it? Missing interest. The person can say, Courtroom Cassa, na Lumba yere obra otiase ye Akosua Serwaa no ni yere bia.
Oh, okay.
But no one ma e wo mpana.
Na
Ana aka no mo
plan be ni
ntiase.
wadanse.
Ana so ne ti no ne na wo dia ye mpana. On diase.
Solomon yes no wives and concubines. The concubines na ye ni mo.
I'm not to judge whether it was wrong for him to have taken a concubine. No, I'm not judging on that. You get the point. What I'm saying is that the law is that Lumba was married to Akosua Serwaa and no other person. Because the man is over there and the ordinance are doing the second one. To for your mistress.
Lawyer William Kusi. Lawyer. Erade man wo shanye ko she why?
Amen.